And good morning, everyone. Welcome to this day. It is Friday, and tonight, well, late tonight, is going to start a run of maybe a week's worth of rain. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. On our show today from United, we have Carl Randazzo, and he is part of the Energy Committee, which involves working with the other mutuals and GRF, so that is what he's going to really focus on today. Also, we have Kadi Petri-Norris, and Kadi is the assembly person for the 74th District, which is what you're part of. And we're going to have her on, and with Gavin Newsom taking over, I've got a lot of questions myself about, well, how much is going to cost us all. Also, we're going to bring you a great segment, Doctor in the Dugout, which is presented by Hogue, and Sterling Financial Advisors. We're going to bring you a segment with them today as well. Now, as far as meetings, well, there are no meetings today. So let's get right to the weather. Now, what is happening? I've been telling you about all these storm systems that are coming in. The one coming in tonight, we may, in this area, start to see a few sprinkles, maybe around 10, 11 o'clock tonight. The bulk of it will be technically Saturday, meaning 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, all the way through maybe Saturday morning at 10, 11, maybe even noon. Now, this system is going to end up being a very strong system coming in overnight. Huge bands of big cells coming in. It'll be happening overnight, and so therefore they're even saying there could be thunderstorms involved with this system, and they're worried about, obviously, those burn areas are flooding tonight. So a lot of rain coming in tonight. Expect rain maybe tapering off 10:30, 11 o'clock to about noon. Then we'll get some sunshine out. Then on Sunday, be mostly cloudy. We might get a little sun Sunday morning. That's a maybe. That one will be overnight rain into Monday. That one doesn't look quite as strong, but it will be similar. That one should come in a little bit sooner. We're looking at maybe around 7, 8 o'clock at night as it stands right now. Sunday into Monday. Then it'll start to taper off on Monday. Still should be mostly cloudy. Then on Tuesday, this is the storm that is really looking very heavy. Coming in Tuesday night, Wednesday, and then possibly all the way into Thursday. So that one could be maybe a day and a half to 2 days of rain, on and off rain. So we're looking really all the way into late tonight or early Saturday morning, depending how you want to look at it, all the way possibly through Thursday afternoon or even evening of rain almost every day in some form or another. So be prepared for that. A lot of rain coming over the next several days. And snow up in our local mountains. And here we go. A lot of areas are going to be having snow, as you can see there. Tahoe, Mammoth, Big Bear. Of course, when I put Big Bear, I'm also talking about all the other ski areas. Wright, Woodens thing. They're looking at snow levels tonight going down to about 6,000 feet, which also includes Lake Arrowhead. And then, of course, as we move forward in the week, there's going to be more snow. So a cold weekend around the state with rain or snow in most areas, on and off. So there you go. Be prepared for it. Our long-lasting, maybe up to 6 days of on and off rain. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
At Diane's Hallmark, we're ready for Valentine's Day. Are you? Come in and see our great selection of cards and gifts. We have everything you need to show that special someone how much you care. And don't forget those grandkids either. Diane's Hallmark has many gifts and cards for them as well. Diane's Hallmark is located in the town center right next to Hobby Lobby. Come in today and take care of all of your Valentine's Day needs.
Parkinson's disease is a neurological movement disorder affecting an estimated 1 million Americans, including many under age 40. The American Parkinson Disease Association is the largest grassroots network in the United States, working to help ease the burden and find the cure for those coping with Parkinson's. Visit apdaoptimism.org today to find out how you can help millions live with dignity and optimism. Your action today will help APDA put an end to Parkinson's disease.
Adapt to It believes that you should be able to do the activities at home that are important to you. Being safe and independent in bathing and mobility will make you feel happy and self-sufficient. Let the professionals at Adapt to It assist you to choose the perfect items to help you live the beautiful life you deserve. Adapt to It delivers, bills Medicare, and many of our products are made here in the USA. When you can't change it, adapt to it.
Hey Laguna Woods, it's Ken.
And Lisa.
Did you miss an episode of This Day? Not to worry. Head over to youtube.com and search Village Television.
Here you can find each episode of This Day and other community programs such as Good Day OC, Discovering Laguna Woods, and much more.
Just click the red subscribe button, then click the bell to be emailed every time we upload a video.
Don't miss out.
And subscribe today. Well, I'd like to welcome Carl Randazzo of the United Board here today. And Carl is going to be talking about the Energy Task Force, which works together with the other mutuals and GRF as well. Great to have you here today.
Thank you.
A lot of stuff going on. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So, yes, a lot that you're going to talk about here pertains particularly to United, but there's some, of course, that you're looking at as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. The Energy Task Force was put together, as I mentioned here before, as a task force that addresses all the energy issues within the community. Mm-hmm. You can't sort of like segregate Third from GRF from United. Right, okay, we all share the same electrical and same other energy usage issues. Okay, so yeah, we have to address it as a global thing. And as you mentioned, there are two directors from. It's comprised of two directors, and I'll recap just for those that don't know. It's comprised of two directors from United, two directors from Third, two directors from GRF, and then we have some advisors on this committee, and these are voting advisors too, because of the fact that the committee is made up of people that are going to address energy issues. Okay, so at that particular point in time, you're looking for that technical expertise.
Yeah.
Even though a number of us on the committee, the directors, are engineers, there is certain expertise, okay, that we may not be completely familiar with. So as a result of that, we have these advisors on their committee.
Yes, right.
Now, we met this past Wednesday, and I'm the vice chair of the committee, of the task force. We don't want to use the word committee. And I had to chair that committee because unfortunately our chair has some health issues right now that he was he's addressing, and everyone at that committee wished him well so that he gets better soon and he can be able to chair the next committee, the next task force meeting. As a part of the meeting, we go through a project log and go through a number of different issues, and because of the fact this was the end of the year, we reviewed the year 2018 plus looked at things in the future that we're going to be doing this year. So let me touch on some of those things. Within the United community and GRF, I don't want to address any of the Third issues. I don't want to steal their thunder because they'll have somebody come on that will be talking about energy and various other things within Third. So let me just talk about United and GRF stuff, and this is just touching on some of the higher level points, okay, that we discussed. Within United, there are and only in United, we have something called a pushmatic panels. These are electrical panels with breakers, and these are pushmatic circuits. And these pushmatic circuit breakers have sort of like phased out. The newer ones, the GE ones or what have you, are a lot better. So as a result of that, we're phasing these out. And there's 2,750 of these panels within the community, and we're replacing them over a 10-year period that will end in 2026. And right now, as of in 2018, we replaced 244 of these panels. So it's an ongoing contract that will be ongoing for a 10-year period, which started back in 2016 and will end in 2026.
Okay.
The other thing we are also doing within United is reviewing on an ongoing basis the walkway lighting. sometimes people have issues with the fact that there's no lighting in this area versus that area, and we have people calling in and saying we need to have walkway lighting here and now, here or there, and as a result of that, we have people go out and determine whether or not it's really required in that area. An evaluation is done, and based on that evaluation, we either add lighting in that area, which requires us to dig trenches and basically extend the cabling, or we provide a different type of lamp in that area so that it will be able to light a larger area. And this past year, we did that in 41 locations. So we discussed that, and that was basically a recap of 2018, and we'll continue with that program in 2019. The other thing that we discussed was the fact that in this building, in the community center, the HVAC system is old.
Yes.
And as a result of that, it also needs to be integrated into an electrical energy management system. And some of that work, we've contracted with an organization, with a company to do this work.
Right.
And that work has basically started with some preliminary work having been already accomplished, and within the April-May timeframe, we will then be taking these large HVAC units and bringing them up on the roof and actually replacing them. So at that particular point in time, with all the preliminary work we've done so far, and then with the culmination of the actual installation of the new HVAC units, we will have completed that within the April and May timeframe, so that when summer comes, we're ready to go.
Yeah, and it's, believe me, this building needs it.
Exactly. And the thing right now is it's also going to be more energy efficient when we do that, because we'll have better zoning and what have you.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a win-win for everybody. The other thing we discussed is electrical vehicle charging. Now, that's always, it's a thing that within California has become a major issue. Within the community, it's not that big of a deal yet, because I think there's less than 100 cars right now that have been actually we've been informed that people own. And in the carports, it's very hard sometimes to plug in, because if you're in a carport, you can only plug in one car at a time, otherwise you blow that circuit. And I mean, it's not a big deal, then they have to reset the breaker. But in order to address that, I'll discuss in a minute, okay, the fact that we have an advisor that's addressing some of those issues. But right now, within the community here right now, at the community center, we have an opportunity. We have a bollard outside in the back that belongs to us that has 2 extension cords off of it. That is being used by anybody to charge their card, and you can either you can actually pay for that service. The intent here is to look at the possibility of expanding that. Okay. Now, here's the deal. The deal right now is the fact that, and let me just make sure I get this right, the SCEIP, Southern California Incentive Project, has a program that will reimburse us 75% of the cost, up to $210,000, if we install electric vehicle charging in a publicly accessible area. You cannot do it in the community. You can do it, but they won't give you any money. Okay? Yeah. So under the circumstances right now, we'd like to be able to take advantage of that, and it's only good for 2019, and I think it's good until, I don't remember the exact date, but I think we have to get it done by September, October of this year.
So where would these, like, for instance, the ones behind this building are publicly,
Correct.
Anybody can come.
Correct.
Somebody who's working in another building could park their car there.
Correct.
Who have nothing to do with this community.
Right.
So does that mean you would expand something like that?
We would definitely put them adjacent to that area, because the 2 good things about that is the fact that the infrastructure's in place.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of extending that. And then the second thing is the fact that it is in a public area, and we would be reimbursed by the Southern California Incentive Program. You know, so it's a win-win for us. I mean, if we're going to do it, then we do it with that. So as a result of that, we are looking into that. We're in the early days of that, but we will continue working through that and see how we can address that, because We also, if we put too many bollards there, the city may get involved. There's a
Okay.
whole bunch of things.
All right.
We have to do a little bit more homework,
Yeah.
but that is the intent right now, to sort of like take advantage of at least part or all of that $210,000.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's in our best interest to do that.
And then anything that goes in the community that's different.
That's a different story altogether, because that's only accessible by people that live in
Right.
the community,
Right.
and they won't give you any money for that.
Okay.
As far as I know right now, unless they change the law.
Okay.
With this new governor, who knows. And then the other thing that we discussed, which is a very important item, is the fact that, and I've mentioned here before, that we've hired an energy advisor to look at the overall issues that we have in this community with regard to electrical infrastructure, the shortage of power and what have you, and the possibility of expanding our possibility of charging electric vehicles at some point. Now, right now, as I said, within the carport areas, people in Third, some of them have garages, they don't have any problems, okay? But people that are in the carport areas, there's 1 or 2 outlets in a carport, and those outlets are only good for 20 amps, and
Yeah.
sometimes you draw about 12 to 15 amps depending on the type of car you have. So as a result of that, if you try to put 2 cars to charge in that one particular location, you'll draw beyond the capacity of that particular 20 amps, and you'll blow the breaker.
Yeah.
So right now, we would have to basically enhance the infrastructure, and provide cabling and transformers to do that work. And right now, Southern California Edison said that they have no intentions of increasing the amperage of our and the voltage of our transformers. So as a result of that, you will not be able to enhance that unless we pay for the transformers. We're still working out that detail. But at this particular point in time, they're working on the whole thing of looking at infrastructure in this community and how it's affected, because we have power outages in certain areas.
Right.
And as a result of that, so we are in the early stages of that. They just started this work back in December, and they're trying to get SCE to provide some information about the transformers, and SCE has been reluctant to provide it to us because of security issues. With this whole thing with terrorists and what have you now, okay, it becomes a big deal. You have to prove that you really need that information, and so as a result of that, we're working through those details, and we've had a couple of issues trying to get that information, but we'll work through the details and get it done.
Yeah, and the thing is with this is coming up in the near future, very near future, more and more people are going to be having electric vehicles, and it really suits the needs of people who live here who don't drive that far. Right. It's a perfect situation, and I know you've talked about this before as others, that you want to be able to market this place in, again, the not too distant future of, you come here, we're ready for you with your electric vehicle and things like that. That's going to be a selling point.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're looking towards that goal, as I said. But this advisor is looking at the whole big picture. And one of that is the electric vehicle.
Yeah. All right. Carl, good to see you.
Same here.
Thank you for coming on today, sir.
You're welcome.
You take care.
Take care.
Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
We'll be back.
There are over 400,000 seniors in Orange County today. So where does a senior or family caregiver go for information and resources? You can turn to the Answers Guide, published by the Council on Aging Southern California. Answers is full of articles and resources to help you navigate the aging experience. You can pick up your free copy today at the clubhouse nearest you or at the Social Services Office. The Council on Aging, helping seniors remain healthy, connected, and protected.
Mind in Memory program at Mission Hospital is an outpatient program specifically designed for patients with a memory disorder who have developed a mental health issue, such as depression, anxiety, or paranoia. Patients are welcome every day, Monday through Friday, up to 4 days a week. On-site meals and snacks are included, and transportation to and from the program is available. The program focuses on improvement in overall mood, function, and concentration, as well as a decrease in depression or anxiety. Call today to find out if you or your loved one qualifies for the Mind and Memory program.
Hi, I'm John Bowser Bauman. You probably know me best as Bowser from Sha Na Na, but I'm also president of Social Security Works PAC. And you know, when I'm in Laguna Woods, I always watch Village television. Grease for peace.
Hello, Laguna Woods. My name is Rick Bradford, and I am the pastor of Saddleback Church of Laguna Woods. I would like to invite you to join your friends and neighbors right here in Clubhouse 5 every Sunday as we worship, as we enjoy a free breakfast, and as we learn from our pastor, Rick Warren, the author of the best-selling book, The Purpose-Driven Life. Please be assured that you will be warmly welcomed at either our 9 or 11 a.m. service. I look forward to meeting you personally.
Are you looking for a better way to manage your medication? MedBox by AmeriPharma has redefined the pharmacy experience. No more pill organizers and vials. When we fill your prescriptions, you get all your medications conveniently packaged by the dose and delivered to your door at no additional cost. This means no change in insurance, copays, or out-of-pocket expenses. Call our specialists today and discover the new way of pharmacy. MedBox by AmeriPharma.
Welcome back. Today we have on, well, the newest member, well, not the newest, a new member, I should say, to the Assembly. And there's a lot of new members, but we'd like to welcome the one for this district, Cotty Petrie-Norris, who is the 74th Assembly District. And that's your district, along with several others in the area, several other cities and towns. So congrats and welcome.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year
to
to
be
you.
Here.
So let's first talk, before we get into some of the issues, let's talk about what's been going on for you in your first couple weeks and how that process has been going and getting up to Sacramento.
Well, I got sworn in on December 3rd.
Okay.
So a little over a month ago, and it has been an incredible month. It's been a busy month, but it's been an incredible month. And I'm really pleased to say that we're already working on the issues that we talked about during the campaign and the commitments that we made to our constituents during the campaign. We are working on some environmental policy issues, particularly sea level rise. We are working on some public safety issues and education. And the thing that we've been doing, the thing we've really prioritized over the past month, is reaching out to all of the councils and the city managers. We've got 6 cities in the district.
Right.
So we're connecting with each and every one of them to make sure that we understand what are the issues, what are the priorities, and how can we help to get things done and bring more resources back home to Orange County.
Okay, and so I want to, before I forget, you have a local office in Costa Mesa.
Yes, we
am
do.
I right? And the local office is 714-668-2100. And we were talking right beforehand to get to the state website, the Assembly 74th District. It's really kind of convoluted. So my best to tell everyone is just Google, even, Cotty 74th District, California. Do something like that, it'll come up.
And then another good way to stay in touch with us, you can stay in touch with us on Facebook. So you can follow me on Facebook. It's Assemblywoman CPN, my initials.
Okay.
And so you can stay up to date on what we're doing and all the events that we have in the district and how we can be helpful to our constituents.
Yeah. So that's the best way to do it. All right, let's talk about some of the issues. We have Gavin Newsom as governor now, and it seems like, at least to me, we're going into more socialism direction. there's, I'm going to just, he has proposed a $144 billion budget. The budget doesn't come through until June, am I right?
Correct.
Okay.
So this is an
more
initial
his
draft of the budget,
Correct.
and we will continue to negotiate it, and then that will be approved, finalized, and put into action in June.
Okay, so it's predicted, or he predicted, that there's going to be $21 billion surplus. You know, it could be 18, it could be 22, but right around there. And there's maybe a little bit of slower growth in the state as far as people going. But let's talk about some of the things, because you know, some of the things that I looked at, this was an article I just looked at yesterday, and I think it was from the Sacramento Bee. But you know, a couple of the things that stood out to me is a lot of money, being spent on low-income families, health care for illegals, and some people are going, well, we want health care, but why should we be spending money on people who shouldn't even be here, especially for health care?
So I think, Governor Newsom has called this budget, this 2019-2020 budget, the California for All budget. And I think the first thing that the budget does, and the first thing that he emphasized, I think both during the press conference to announce the budget and also during the inauguration, was that his number one priority is ensuring that we have a strong foundation for California. So this budget shores up the rainy day fund. It pays down some of our debt obligations, and it's also paying down some of our unmet liabilities and unfunded liabilities. So I think that's the first thing it does. He's also made he's proposing historic investments in education from K-12 all the way through community college and advanced degrees. It also includes some meaningful and I think needed investment for emergency response and emergency recovery, both in terms of funding our CAL FIRE capabilities and wildfire prevention. And the other thing that the budget does is a one-time investment in, I think, a needed investment in addressing our housing and homelessness crisis. And I think what's important to note is that the spending proposals that the governor has put forth, I think he and everyone else in the legislature were very aware that while we might have a little bit of a surplus right now, we're not expecting that to continue. We are planning, obviously we're hoping that we continue to have an unprecedented economic growth, but we're planning, anticipating a downturn. So we're planning from a position of, I think, being careful about how we're budgeting. So the investments that are getting made now, he's being really careful about saying these are one-time investments because we have a surplus.
But we've been heard that in the past from many governors, and they don't end up being one-time investments. They go on in perpetuity, which we've seen with certain taxes and things like that. They go to sunset, but then they get re-upped again. So that's the fear with this.
I mean, I think
and that's been historically California over the last 20 years, regardless of who the governor has been.
I mean, I think what you're getting at is kind of a bigger issue, which I think is important. I think it's that people need to be able to trust the government, and they need to be able to trust that their representatives are going to, say what they mean what they say, and do what they're committed to. And actually, one thing that's I think very exciting for me, I've been asked to chair the Assembly's Accountability and Administrative Review Committee. And our remit there is to ensure that government programs are operating efficiently, that legislation that is getting passed is being implemented effectively, and that we are, I think, maintaining the commitments that we make to our constituents. So in that capacity, I'm really looking forward to working with Governor Newsom, with Speaker Rendon, and with all of my colleagues to ensure that we are positioned for long-term economic growth.
But what about the huge tax burden? Because this was quite interesting. In 2018, they said, what are the #1 Google searches by state? Every state was different. The #1 Google search for people living in California was about leaving the state. And it had to do, each state was different. It was interesting. I went through a couple different states, but you can look this up. And it was really about the cost of living, the tax burden, the burden. Our gas is quite literally $1 higher than anywhere else in the nation, except maybe I think New Jersey and New York. Our taxes are some of the highest. how do you respond to that? I mean, a lot of these programs are good, but on one hand, what happened to the people, saying, well, you take care of yourselves. We paid for my daughter, my daughter's 12 years old, my wife's a teacher, we're very aware of the education, but we paid for her health care, we paid for her preschool and things like that. Why should I, or the people living here who have great-grandchildren, pony out money for people who can't afford to pay for their own kids? That's whatever happened from standing up for yourself.
So I believe very firmly in standing up for yourself and in working really hard to get ahead. And I think that in some cases now, I think it's harder, it's getting more and more difficult for people that aren't in the same position as we are to create opportunities for their kids. And I think that it's beholden upon us as a state to help level the playing field, to make sure that we make good on our commitment that if you do work hard and you play by the rules, that you can get ahead. And I think that ultimately, to me, that's not just something that I think is the morally right thing to do. I really do believe that that is the right thing to do to ensure the long-term economic growth and prosperity of California. Because the bottom line is, if more people succeed, if more people become active and vibrant parts of the economy, our economy is going to continue to grow. And so that's the way that I think about it. But I absolutely think about things from an investment perspective. So my business, my background is in business.
Okay.
So I think about, is the dollar, I don't like things where you go, gosh, I'm going to spend $1 today and that's the end of that.
Right.
I like things where we can say, if we spend $1 today, that is going to return $5 to $10 in terms of the economic benefit to the state and to the country over the course of the next 10 years. Like those kinds of things and those kinds of programs, that's what I'd like to see us focused on.
Okay, well, maybe that means we'll get a rebate for all the money we spent on our own health care, or our own child for her preschool. That's what I'm talking about, or whatever it may be, the money spent on my older daughter's education in college and things like that. I think that's what it is these more and more programs, the middle class they've kind of done the right thing. I'm not talking about helping people out who have done the right thing and they've lost their job. That's different.
Right.
I'm talking about people from the get-go who are maybe having kids they can't afford and now looking for the state, well, feed us, clothe us, educate us, without doing things on their own. And they get, it's a system that doesn't end for them. It doesn't sunset, where from the very start, if we just said, hey, you got to do for you here, it seems like people, it's that old saying, give somebody a fish they eat for the night, but say, no, here's a fishing
Teach
pole,
somebody
go
to
do it
fish
for
and
yourself.
They fish for a lifetime.
Yeah, and that seems to be not what we're doing in this state. We're I guess to me, I call it a helicopter state, like helicopter parent. It's like, we don't want you to fall down, we don't want you to fall through the cracks. Well, failure sometimes is a very good thing for people.
Well, I think I definitely agree that if you give somebody a fish they eat today, and if you teach somebody to fish, then they fish for a lifetime or eat for a lifetime. And I absolutely agree that those are the types of programs that we should be investing in. And I also think that we need to make sure that incentives are aligned, and if incentives are appropriate, to encourage people to work hard, to encourage people to go to school, to encourage people to get good jobs. And I think there are things that we can do as a state, particularly at this moment, where we're in a world where technology is changing so much of what we do and how we do it. Here in Orange County, there are so many technology jobs that employers can't even fill them.
That's right.
So there
You're
are
absolutely right.
incredible opportunities for us to create, I think, training programs that will allow people to move into highly skilled, well-paying jobs and become part of the community and part of the economy.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point in that throughout the country, you hear, I've been watching a show for decades called This Old House, which I'm sure you've heard of. And they've talked about that the tens of thousands of trade jobs that are not being filled because people don't look at that, as kids I should say, they don't look at that as great positions anymore. And yet you become an electrician, you become, yes, there's downturns, when the economy goes ebbs and flows, but it's an amazing the amount of money that they can write their own tickets practically.
Absolutely.
Or in technology, we don't have
Yep.
enough software engineers. So the trades, whatever trades mean nowadays, are there's a plethora of jobs out there.
Absolutely. Those are good, well-paying jobs. And I think there are more things that we can do to open up opportunities in career technical education as well as in technology
Maybe
jobs.
bring back auto shop back to high school.
And you
or
say
whatever
that,
it might be.
I've had that conversation with many teachers and with many educators and even with many legislators that we've kind of closed down a path that perhaps we need to take a closer look at.
Right. Now, when it comes to community colleges, they do an excellent job, and they are also seeing the need for trades and things like that.
Absolutely.
Do you think we could see maybe like a partnership, maybe where local companies maybe help fund this trade program, kind of like an apprentice program, and then the student comes and apprentices for them for a year, whatever it might be?
I think those types of programs are terrific ideas, and we've even got a couple of examples of those happening in Orange County with some of the building trades partnering with some of the community colleges here.
Right.
And I think there's a real opportunity. Like I said, my background is in business, so I've been involved in a number of startups, and there you think about things from a venture capital model, right? People you invest in a bunch of different things and see what is working. What I'd like to see us do is look at all the different programs that are operating around the state and find those ones that are working really effectively, and then find ways to scale that and make that available to more people.
You are in your local office. How often compared to being up in Sacramento? I'm just curious about that.
It ends up being about a 50-50 split.
Okay.
So when we're in session, then I'll be in Sacramento from Monday mornings for the most part until Thursday afternoons, and then back in the district for Friday and the weekend. And then when we're not in session, I'm in the district the entire time.
So again, that local number is the best one.
Yes, if people are, our district office.
Because from there they can get a hold of you. And
our objective and our mission really is to make government work for the people and for the people that elected us and the people that we represent. So if constituents are having issues with government service or with navigating the bureaucracy, we are there to help, and people should pick up the phone and call the district office.
Okay, what are the cities that you represent in the areas? I know it's kind of convoluted, isn't it?
Well,
the
it's
shape of the district.
It's sort of coastal Orange County, so it's South Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, Laguna Woods, most of Irvine, and Costa Mesa.
Okay, all right, very good.
So the most beautiful district in the state of California.
I would certainly agree with that. Yes. You have your Facebook page. If people forget what it is, they can go to Facebook, just put in your name.
Yes.
It'll come up.
Yeah. Yes.
And then from there, they can get a hold of things. You can.
Absolutely. So any of our contact information, resources, and upcoming events will all be on the Facebook page, which is Assemblywoman CPN.
Okay, very good. And I'm sure we'll see you again on and off over the coming months.
Yes, and we will be having mobile office hours in Laguna Woods beginning in February. We're going to have those on a monthly basis where my staff will be here to connect with any constituents that have issues. So we'll be sharing the details of that.
Yeah, please do.
Once we finalize that. And then once a month, kind of throughout the district, we're going to do a community coffee with Cotty, and we'll be rotating through the cities in the district just as an opportunity for people to hear from me about what's going on and for me to hear from people about the things that are happening in their lives.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
You take care.
Appreciate it. Good to see you.
We'll be right back.
Look Looking for a change of scenery? You don't have to play golf to enjoy all that 19 Restaurant and Lounge has to offer. From our delicious breakfast menu to our delectable lunch and dinner specials. At 19 Restaurant and Lounge, there is something for everyone. Relax with your friends and family and take in the beautiful view from our spacious patio. Or enjoy a cocktail and appetizer in our lounge. 19 Restaurant and Lounge is a great place to socialize, enjoy a meal, or simply take in the view. Join us 7 days a week and experience Laguna Woods' exclusive dining experience.
Hello again, and welcome to the Traveling Roadshow version of the Doctor in the Dugout. I'm your host, Dr. Alan Beyer, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Dr. Jonathan Kaplan, one of our newer associates at Hoag Orthopedic Institute, a foot and ankle specialist. John, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I think that you talk about a topic, your expertise is in a topic that I think so fits the viewership that we have down here, which I like to call it the agony of defeat. Because foot and ankle problems just seem to be just a lot of people here. Golf, there's probably more rounds of golf played on the golf course down here than any other course I can think of in Southern California. People's feet tend to hurt when they walk 18 holes or even if they ride 18 holes. Tell us a little bit about the most common things that you're seeing in your practice in terms of especially foot problems in a more senior tilted population, people in their 50s and above.
Of course. So we're seeing a lot of patients with bunions and activity-related pain with shoe wear, particularly when they're active. I see a lot of patients who will develop Achilles tendonitis or pain with activities in the Achilles tendon. And then we also see a variety of ankle sprains and other injuries when people roll their ankles or injure their ankles when they're playing sports and other activities.
So to keep this current, let's hone in on Achilles tendon stuff a little bit. Great football player, Des Bryant, released by the Dallas Cowboys, sits around waiting to get a phone call from somebody else. Nobody calls. Finally gets a phone call from the New Orleans Saints after 3 or 4 months of inactivity. Goes up, signs with the Saints, ready to play. Second practice, last play of the practice, ruptures his Achilles tendon. Yep. How common is that in somebody who isn't really keeping in great shape and staying stretched out? And what does that injury mean to somebody who's doing athletic stuff?
Of course. So we see Achilles tendon ruptures most commonly in people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, what we call the weekend warriors. And we think we see it because those are patients who are active on the weekends but not doing their stretching exercises. And they're basically doing enough to strain the tendon, but they're not staying active enough and healthy enough to protect it from injuring it.
So I know there's a little bit of, I don't want to say controversy, but there's a little dichotomy of opinion these days about how these acute Achilles tears should be treated in active people. It used to be surgery if you want to stay active. But now there's a push in some people towards treating them by just immobilizing them in a boot, maybe with the foot down for a bunch of weeks. Tell me a little bit about what goes into the decision-making process about which way to treat an Achilles rupture.
Of course. So the most important thing is identifying the correct patient. We can treat Achilles ruptures with surgery and without surgery. The key is you have to identify the patient in a timely fashion. You have to understand the risk factors for healing in each of them. And the key is with your non-operative treatment, it's not just immobilizing them, it's a very guided functional rehabilitation program. So it's how we rehab them in a very controlled fashion. So we're activating the tendon, getting it to heal, but not doing too much where it can't heal.
So is the risk of re-rupture higher in the patient who's treated non-surgically?
There is a slightly higher risk of re-rupture in the patient treated non-surgically. With surgery, it's usually around 2 or 3%. Without surgery, it's usually up to 5%.
Still a pretty acceptable number, and not having any of the risks of infection or skin problems that are sometimes associated with repairs. I guess that sounds pretty good.
Absolutely. It's a great option for most of our patients who are weekend warriors, patients who maybe don't need quite as much strength as a professional athlete would.
But at the professional or highly competitive level, surgery is still the way to go.
Yes, in a professional athlete, highly competitive athlete, surgery is the way to go because it's going to give them the best power, the best return to their previous pre-rupture level.
So let's go a little bit deeper on that because it's something that's kind of always titillated me. So here's a professional athlete towards the twilight of his career, let's say, has the surgical repair. He's going to lose a little bit in terms of his vertical leap and things like that, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
So that's what happened to Kobe also, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely. You never come back as the same player. You're not going to come back with the same explosive power, the same jump and function that you have with the Achilles. At the same time, we know that many athletes can come back to a close to previous fitness level. And so a lot of athletes can still get some time back in a few years of the rupture, but usually they're not the same player.
I always like to say you can fool Mother Nature, but you can't fool Father Time.
Absolutely.
So now let's go to something that affects a lot more people in and around us, which is bunions. I know you're doing some really groundbreaking work in terms of minimally invasive surgery to repair bunion deformities. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. It's this new innovative technology that allows us to correct bunions through a series of what we call keyhole incisions, which are 1 to 2 millimeter wide incisions, maybe the size of a pea. And we can correct the bunion through these incisions, and it limits the amount of swelling, it limits the amount of pain, earlier return to activity, all these things that we like to see in our post-surgical patients.
So a lot of people are scared off of bunion surgery because the wives' tale out there, for want of a better term, is that it's very painful afterwards. They're not able to bear weight normally for a long period of time. Does this somehow get us over that hump?
It does. It allows them to walk immediately after surgery. Patients are walking post-operative day number 1 in a special shoe that we give them. Their pain is substantially reduced because we're not making as large of incisions and affecting the soft tissues. And we found that they're getting back to activities quicker and back to life quicker, which is great for our patients.
Are you doing people both sides bilaterally at one time, or you're staging them one at a time?
I'll usually stage them. Even though it's less invasive, it doesn't mean it's non-invasive. So we want them to be able to have a good foot to stand on. I think doing one foot actually gets them back quicker because they can rely on one foot and ease back into it, as opposed to having both feet hurting at the same time.
It's kind of the same rationale we use on people who are having knee replacement. I really try to talk people into only having one knee replaced at a time because I just think the rehab goes easier.
Exactly. I agree 100%. We can learn from our joint replacement specialists.
There's a lot of things you could learn from the joint replacement specialists,
I agree.
which segues us perfectly to what I want to talk about next, which is a new procedure, a relatively new procedure that's out there now, called a Cartiva implant, which is for arthritis of the first MTP joint. Tell our viewers a little bit about what that joint is and what's involved with this procedure.
So what that joint is it's the big toe joint that I explained to our patients, and that joint's where we move our big toe, where most of our motion is. And traditionally, when patients get advanced arthritis in that big toe joint, the only option was to fuse it, but that wasn't ideal because they'd lose motion, it'd be a longer recovery. Some of the activities that we like to do in Southern California aren't feasible with a big toe fusion. And so the Cartiva really allows us to go in and kind of clean up the joint, and we put this implant in there that acts almost like a bumper. It allows smooth gliding, allows decreased inflammation, decreased pain, and an earlier return to activity, and it has a shorter recovery.
And they keep their motion of that joint.
They do. They keep their motion. They may have a slight improvement in motion, but I also try to emphasize that they don't get normal motion back because they've already developed some stiffening, but they do keep the motion they have, and they even get a little bit better.
So now this is for a condition that's called hallux rigidus,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Which is still the same joint that a bunion is involved in, but it's a different area of that joint. Let's give a little anatomy lesson to the viewers out there so they can understand the difference.
Exactly, and that's a great point because a lot of patients will think that one is the other and vice versa. So a bunion is an angulation of the big toe joint. So the joint itself is normal, it has healthy cartilage, but the bones themselves become, for lack of a better word, crooked. Whereas big toe arthritis or hallux rigidus, that's where the cartilage wears out inside the joint, and they get thinning of that cartilage, which then leads to a bony prominence, which looks like a bunion or a spur on top of the toe, and then they get pain due to the bone rubbing against bone.
So there is a procedure that's been done before, besides a fusion, called a chevron osteotomy and an Aiken procedure where they kind of change the angle of the first toe a little bit. Kind of tell us what the indications, if any, still exist for that versus the newer Cartiva implant.
So the indications for doing the chevron and Aiken is really more guided towards the bunion. If a patient has arthritis with a bunion, you can realign it with the chevron and Aiken. You can also add something called a chylectomy, which is where we shave the spur on the top of the big toe for arthritis. Whereas if someone has advanced arthritis, if the cartilage is more or less completely worn out, we know that realigning the bunion or realigning the toe is not going to alleviate all their pain, and that's where you need to do something more advanced, like the Cartiva procedure.
So one thing that I know our female viewers are going to want to know, after you have these kinds of procedures, when can you go back to wearing high heels?
Of course. So with the Cartiva procedure, if we're doing that alone, patients can go back to high heels usually 1 month or after surgery. With the bunion correction, I usually tell them it's a little bit longer because we're relying on the bone cuts to heal. So it's usually about 8 weeks after surgery.
So let's also attack another famous myth here. Does the shoe wear that someone uses influence the development of their bunions, or is that programmed into them? Can people slow the progression of their bunions by more sensible choices in shoe wear? Let's address that for our viewers.
That's a great point, and I think that's something that we can't quite pinpoint 100%. And what I mean by that is we know bunions are multifactorial. There's more than just one cause. It's not just shoe wear. At the same time, we do know that females get it more than males, and we think that may be in part due to their shoe wear, shoes that have a tighter toe box. So inherently, it makes sense that if someone has a bunion, if they wear a shoe that's wider, accommodates their foot, in theory, it would decrease the progression of the bunion. At the same time, there's plenty of people that get bunions who've never worn high heels in their life, and vice versa, plenty of people who've worn high heels their whole life and don't develop a bunion.
So it's one of those things that we just don't know.
We just don't know.
We've got a minute or two left here. Let's address one other thing that I know affects a lot of people out there, and that's plantar fasciitis, the pain that comes on the bottom of the foot when they first get up in the morning or when they're doing some kind of activity. Define it for us and tell us what people should do about it.
Yes, it's a very common problem that I see in my practice. What the plantar fascia is, it's a ligament that runs along the bottom of the foot, from the heel to the ball of the foot. And it can become very painful. Usually it's inflammation in that ligament on the bottom of the heel. We see it happen after an injury, after trauma. Sometimes it just starts out of the blue, and so it's inflammation in that area. The best way to treat it is stretching exercises, stretching the calf and stretching the plantar fascia. You can do a wall stretch. You can take a golf ball or a tennis ball and roll it along your arch, and then massaging the scar tissue or massaging along the plantar fascia to break up the scar tissue.
Frozen water bottle is another one that I know a lot of people use as well to do that stretching.
A great one.
Well, thanks so much for being here with us today. You've really opened everybody's eyes about some of these common problems that involve foot and ankle. People can obviously find out more about you from our website at orthopedichospital.com, the Hoag Orthopedic Institute website. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day. We'll be back again soon with another topic in the world of orthopedics. You're listening to Dr. Alan Beyer, or viewing Dr. Alan Beyer, your doctor in the dugout. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon. Well, our movie coming up today is called Operation Finale. It's based on a true story about a secret team of agents to track down the Nazi officer who masterminded the Holocaust. This takes place back in, let's see, I want to say about the 1950s or so, 1960s. And there was a group of Israeli intelligence officers who tracked down the infamous Adolf Eichmann, who was living in Argentina at the time. That is followed by the famous 8-month trial to convict him. So that will be on today at 2 o'clock and at 7 o'clock. Now our Monday movie is called The Little Mermaid, and this isn't the Disney Little Mermaid. This is a live action one that came out last year. And in this one, it's about a young reporter and her niece discover a beautiful, enchanting creature they believe to be the real Little Mermaid. And there are some groups that want to exploit her, but they want to be able to sort of save her and
give her a great life. That will be Monday at 2 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. Now, getting to our weather, as I said, a lot of rain coming in. What we are expecting is the storm system coming into our area later on tonight. We possibly might be seeing a little bit of sprinkles here around 10, 11 o'clock at night. The bulk of it will be after midnight, and they are expecting a very strong band of storms to come in, possible thunderstorms, dropping a lot of rain overnight into tomorrow. We could get rain here, a little bit of scattered showers up until late morning, maybe even around noon tomorrow. Then a little bit of sun. Then going forward, another storm coming in Sunday to Monday night, over Monday into Monday morning. And then Tuesday, this looks like to be a very big storm coming in late Tuesday, possibly even earlier on Tuesday. That one kind of dancing around the time frame. Tuesday all the way possibly into Thursday. So that could be up to 2 days of some heavy storms coming in. So a lot of rain beginning overnight tonight, all the way possibly through Thursday. Tomorrow we'll get bouts of sunshine in there. Each one of those days, well, maybe not Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but over the weekend, you know, maybe a little sun, maybe even a little sun on Sunday. We'll see about that if that comes in. Around the state this weekend, we're looking at rain and snow in many areas, and most of the other areas are going to be cool to cold and cloudy. So even cold for us in Palm Springs, only averaging about 64 degrees. The local mountains, Big Bear, those areas, they're looking at maybe up to 8 to 10 inches of snow just tonight. And over the next week, there could be looking at quite a bit of snow coming in. So that's good news. All right, we will see you on Monday. You take care. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.